Google Forms is a great platform for creating surveys, online quizzes and tests, and also for collecting data really quickly to gauge understanding in your classroom. And we'll go through a couple different ways you can use that. To create a new form, we'll start in Google Drive. We'll go to the New button and we'll click More, Google Forms. For this example, I'm going to set up a Google form that would serve as a quiz for one of my computer programming classes. Obviously, you could adjust this to fit whatever you happen to teach, but so I'm going to call this Computer Science Quiz. Okay, so there's the title. Below the title, I can add a form description. And so this quiz is based on chapters 1 through 3. And by default, there is one question already set up for you, and it is a multiple choice question. So I'm going to change that by clicking on this drop-down menu, and I'm going to choose text. Text questions are good for short answers, one-line answers. So either a sentence or a phrase, or as I'm going to use it here, somebody's name. I have the option on each question to check a required, and if this is checked, when they go to finish their form and submit it, they won't be allowed to continue if they haven't answered it. But I'm going to leave those unchecked for this example. Okay, so there is one question on my form. I'm going to add another one. If I pull this little drop-down menu here, I can choose which kind of question I want to ask next. So I'm going to choose paragraph text. And this is great for longer answer questions. So again, sticking with my computer science theme, I'm going to ask a question that would require a bit more thought and a longer response. You have the option for help text, which is a little parenthetical or an additional piece of information you might like to give them. It'll appear in a lighter color just underneath the main question text if you need it. I don't need it on this one, so I'll leave it off, and I'll click Done. Okay, I'm going to add one more item in this first go through, and that'll be a multiple choice question. And now I'll enter the question text. Down here I have option 1, and as I move through, more options will be added. So this is the first choice you want to give your students or your people who are taking your survey. When I hit return, I move to the next one, and I'll click Done. So I have a very short 3-question quiz here, and that includes them just typing in their name, so really it's just 2 questions. So now that I've got my quiz set up, what other things could I do with it? Well, you can take a look at the themes that are available, which determines how it looks. So I'm going to click on Change Theme right here. And over on the right, I've got a variety of choices. I tend to not use these. I tend to just leave it as a basic form. But just for kicks, we'll scroll down here and we'll choose sailing, which has nothing to do with computer programming for the most part. So that's how my quiz would look to a student. And it's nicely formatted and spaced out. So you can experiment and try other themes and see what you like. Here's one with coffee and notes. That's a good one. Okay, so I'll leave that. After you've decided on a theme or decided to leave the theme alone, you can check out these options up here. So if you click Edit Questions, we go back into our editor view and we can make some changes. If you click View Live Form, we get a new tab, and this is actually the quiz. And if you want to, you can actually take it right now. So just to show you how that works, I'm going to start answering the questions here. Enter your name, longer answer, and I'll choose one of the multiple choice options. And multiple choice obviously only lets you choose one. And then when I'm done, I click Submit. I'm taken to this your response has been recorded screen. And now I'm done, so I can close that tab. Okay, one thing that you'd want to notice right away is the menu that says responses has a 1 after it. That means one person has responded. That was what I just did. I just took the quiz, so my answers are in. If you want to view the responses, you can click the View Responses button right there. That'll open up a Google Sheets spreadsheet with all the answers recorded. Notice there's a timestamp so I know when it was completed, and all the answers for each of the questions. Now, your questions and answers may not fit in the cells, and so if you just double click here, you can widen out and see it, or if you double click in one of the cells, you can see the whole thing as well. That spreadsheet with all of the responses is saved in your Google Drive. So let's take a look at where that shows up. I'll go back to my Drive, and there's two documents here. The purple one is the Google form that we just created. The green one, with the same name but with the word responses at the end, is the spreadsheet where all the answers show up. So these should be together. And you can move them to different locations in your Drive. That's no problem. Google Drive will keep track of where the stuff should go. But just understand that they come in pairs. So you name your form, and your answers and responses will get stored in a document with the same name, but with the word responses added to the end. Okay, I just completed that quiz 9 more times so that we would have a list of responses. So let's look up here under responses. You can see there's 10 responses total. If I click the View Responses button, you can see that there are more answers now from different students. And so let's close that. What I'd like to show you is a really handy feature. And in the Responses menu, you can go down to Summary of Responses. That opens up a new tab, and you get a summary of all the things that have been answered so far. A couple of scrolling windows here with the names. Another one for the long answers, which aren't very long, but that's okay. Down here we have a really nice pie chart that was created, generated automatically from the data, and we get the actual numbers here in percentages and then the chart drawn right there. Anytime you ask questions that are multiple choice or questions that are check boxes or choose from a list, you get graphs and charts that show up. This is really useful because you can ask your classroom a real quick question about understanding, and you can do it in the middle of the lesson and have every student quickly take the survey, and you can have these results up on the screen. The results here are anonymous. Now, if you're going to do this as an exercise in checking for understanding, you probably wouldn't ask a question like enter your name. You could leave that off. But all of these would show up, and you'd get a real quick, at-a-glance way to understand how your students are picking up the concepts. So how do you get this quiz or this form or this survey out for people to see it? Let's go up here and click the Send Form button. And there's another one down at the bottom of the form. When this comes up, you have a couple options. We have a link to share. And so they give you kind of a long link here, and you can just press Apple C or Control C to copy that. You can also choose to click Short URL. And so then you get a shorter version from Google. But anytime you have a link like this, you can put it anywhere a link would work. So you could send it in an email, or you could post it on your classroom website if you have one set up. If you're using Google Classroom, you can just attach the form right there with that link, and that works really well. You can also share the link via some social media sites, although these aren't really available at our school. And down here, you can send the form via email. So you can just enter your students' names, and it'll send it right to them. You can add a custom message if you choose to, and then click Send. So those are the two main ways to share a form. Generate a link, post it on a website, or send it in an email, and that's how you can do that. So with that, you've got enough to get going in creating your own forms, whether for survey purposes or for quizzes and tests. Next, we're going to go into some more intermediate level type details. We'll talk about different kinds of questions you can ask, how to incorporate different types of media into your quizzes or surveys, and how to control some of the permissions and other settings.